So I had just moved to New York about 2 weeks before September 11th. It was the end of August. I was a university student there, but I had been working for a radio station before. Over the summer, I was a news radio station, and so my main job was being a student at the time. I had moved from Boston to New York, and it was a brand new city for me, but I was so excited to be there. You know, I moved to the financial district where all the buildings are incredibly tall, and got to my apartment, and I lived about 3 blocks away from the towers, and I woke up with just this bang, and I felt the bed shake, and I couldn't really figure out what it was. I mean, it's, you know, in such a big city, it could be construction. There's so many things that could make that sound, but what was strange about it was how much it felt like it shook the building. After that, I went to the TV, and at that time, the news stations, they were reporting that it was just a tiny passenger plane.
An airplane reportedly has crashed into the World Trade Center. That is a live shot.
And then that's when the radio station that I had been working for called me and said, something's happened at the World Trade Center, and we want you to go down there and see what happened. And I was looking out the window as I was speaking on the phone with them, and that's when I just saw a huge fireball illuminated everything I could see out my window. I remember screaming, and it was involuntary. I mean, you can't see something like that and not react to it in a really strong way, because it looked just like it would in a Hollywood action film where you see a giant fireball. And that's when I think I knew, and the person on the phone and my roommate knew, that something extremely serious was going on. 20 years having passed with thinking about it so much, I'm not sure what I thought at the time, but nobody thought that it would be the event that it was. I was 19 years old, so I felt fearless in some ways, and I wanted to know what was going on. So it was almost still the 1990s. I had a tape recorder with me, and my roommate and I decided to go to the apartment of our friend to see how she was, and to bring her with us.
Testing. I'm out on the street right now. It's absolute pandemonium. It's like a scene from Independence Day. Traffic is stopped, ambulances are whizzing by, and there are people all over the streets milling around.
As I was walking, I think I was interviewing someone, and I looked up, and there was a man in a suit going like this and just saying, "Run, run, run, run." And we could see the cloud of dust that just started rolling down the streets of the financial district. And I watched this wave of people running toward us, and they just said, "Turn around and go." And so my friends and I just started running with this big crowd, and that's when we started getting engulfed by the smoke and the dust. There was so much chaos, we ended up veering off onto a pier on the East River, and we decided we would stay there until we figured out what was going on and we could take a breath. It was hard to believe what was happening, and everyone was talking about what would happen next, because there were 2 planes, both the towers went down. There was noise everywhere, and we just didn't know if there were going to be more attacks, if there were going to be more planes, if there was going to be anything else going on. And there was definitely a time that I thought, and that the people with me thought, that we were going to die that day. The whole thing ended up feeling like a dream. It felt like, or a nightmare. And so what was actually quite moving was how everyone came together. At that point, we had ash all over our bodies, and I'm sure we looked disoriented, and there were so many people who were wanting to help us, and it was really an incredible show of support from the people in New York. It was such an impactful experience for me personally, in some ways it feels like it happened yesterday. It's very easy to feel like I'm back there and that it's happening again. And it really changed my perspective on everything, and it really changed my entire life trajectory. I was already interested in international relations and history and all of that, but it suddenly became so important to me to try to make a difference in bridging cultural divides. And it was certainly a decisive part of deciding to join the US Foreign Service. My grandfather came to the US for the very first time on a Fulbright scholarship. You know, I grew up with a lot of multicultural influence, and it just made it that much more important to me to try to be sort of an agent of bridging these types of communication divides. I mean, I think it's important to remember the unifying part of the aftermath of September 11th, because those who are in the United States will remember how much people came together, and I could see that also in my experience of that day. People came together to help each other when we were on that pier. There were total strangers who were helping each other. And after that, there was a major feeling of unity throughout the entire country. I'd like to hope that people use that for the inspiration to unify and to look for a way to build bridges between people.